So if I'm at the point where I'm like crying on the floor and in a feeling, I mean, usually I'll just cry it out for a bit. And then, yeah, I mean, my instruments are usually like a foot or two away for this reason. And so, yeah, oftentimes I'll pick it up. If something wants to be said, if I want to like say a thing to my dad, let's say, or like, lament to the universe about something, that's sometimes when I'll like pick up the guitar.
That was Ingrid Avison discussing the song Little Prizes, which Liz Hanellin and I wrote after being inspired by Psalm 86, which in turn sparked thoughts about the end-of-life experience of my dear friend Kim Simon. With Kim's birthday coming up, this episode is dedicated to her memory. May it continue to be a blessing to her family, especially her husband Yus, her kids Eva and Lily, her sisters Karen and Jana, and the rest of her family and friends. I'm Shep Rosenman. This is The Rest is Commentary, where we discuss what songs inspired by the Psalms inspire in my guests. Ingrid Avison lives in a world of secrets. As a desert wanderer, she discovers them. As a grief therapist, she holds them. And as a songwriter, she confesses them. Ingrid's siren vocals captivate listeners while infusing her songs with catchy melodies and provocative, intimate lyrics. Her live shows bring you along a journey that is soulful and psychedelic, raw and aching. Her charismatic presence will have you crying in one moment and laughing in the next, inviting you along what she calls the tears to laughter pipeline. Her 2024 debut record is a cinematic blend of Americana, desert landscapes, lost love, time travel, and mortality. She just released a new single, Low Gravity Day, which you can find wherever music is streamed. As I've told her many, many times, Ingrid is an artist to always be on the lookout for. We discuss grief as a source of pain and inspiration for creativity, how sharing grief through any art form, including songwriting, can foster connection and healing, how collaboration helps build deeper emotional explorations, the impact of how you perform transforms the way a song is received by others, humor as a powerful tool in addressing serious subjects, grief leading to a greater appreciation of life, creating a safer space for emotional expression as the essential ingredient in both therapy and performance, and so much more. Let's start off by listening to Little Prizes. We're waiting for you to get up from your bed and do all those things you always do. Think all those things you always think. Say all those things you always say. We're waiting for you not to go away. We sit on lumpy chairs outside your door, trying hard to pray, trying so hard to pray. You're getting ready to leave your tired body here, ready to depart this ancient sphere. We're getting ready to lose you, but we're not ready to lose you. The little prizes of the everyday accumulate like a bright collection of yellow smiles, a cabinet of gorgeous curiosities. But this change is coming with such harsh velocity. Such harsh velocity. Such harsh velocity. Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, Shep.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here.
Let's tell everybody how we know each other. Do you want to share that or do you want me to?
Oh, I want to hear your version of it.
My version of it. Okay. We're in song school. We're at Amy Speace's class, and we happen to sit next to each other. And Amy selected Ingrid to be her victim student. And it's an amazing experience to watch Amy work with everyone because I would say 90% of the time there's this massive transformation, and an equal number of times there's this opening up that happens. She was working with you, and your song, I don't remember what the song was, but it was somehow is connected to your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Or that was coming out, you were performing it to your dad. I don't remember. This is 2-3 years ago. Amy, as she often does, brings someone from the watchers and asks them to be a stand-in for your dad. And you looked at me, you looked away, and you looked at me like, no, he's the one.
Yeah.
And thus began a beautiful friendship. I remember that afternoon, like I just came over to say hi to you, and you said, I'm going across the river. Do you want to join me for lunch? And we've been friends and colleagues ever since. It's been great.
Yeah. I love your version of that.
Thank you. Do you have a different version or something to add?
It's pretty similar. There were two Amy Speace experiences, the river and the Dead Dad song. Those were 2 years apart in my memory, but it doesn't matter because time, what is time really? We're all just living in the multiverse.
Exactly.
I mean, you got the heart of it and the soul of it. And yeah. Amy Speace brought us together.
For sure. And I will share with whoever listens to this that I've said to you, you are the full package. You are smart, talented, great singer, great songwriter, great guitar player, beautiful inside and out. And I can't wait to see your career explode because I know it's going to happen.
That's so kind. I'm blushing, but maybe if I just lean back a little, you won't feel it. So kind of you to say. Thank you so much. That means a lot, Shep.
Of course. It's been amazing to watch that journey. So I have one question for you for today's episode of The Rest is Commentary. I've framed it in lots of different ways, but I'm currently framing it like this. We as songwriters, as artists, as poets, as filmmakers, as dancers, anyone who's creative are offered the gift of the universe in whatever way we can interpret it and experiencing it and then kind of bring it back out to the world. So I offer songs to friends and mentors like you as a gift in hopes that in the same way that I was inspired by the Psalms in this case and the Muse and Timmy Reardon's fearless songwriting, I'm wondering what the song inspired in you. Questions, commentary, curiosities, whatever it is.
First off, I just want to say thanks for sharing this song with me. A very griefy song. Grief is I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's my favorite and least favorite thing in the world. To me, it's a real privilege when anybody shares their grief with me. And for me, I mean, what it inspired was what a lot of great songs inspire, which is it helped me to connect more with my grief in that moment. There were certain lines in the song and just the heart of the song that really moved me. And I was like, oh, yeah, that hits, oh, God, yeah. It made me think of my own experience and feel something about it. And also to feel not alone in my loss. That was some of what it brought up for me when I was listening. I was like, oh, yeah, this is the song I want to talk with Shep about for sure. It was an instant yes. But yeah, it made me wonder about you and you're this person who the song is about, and you wrote it with your partner, right?
Yeah, my writing partner, Liz, yeah.
It made me wonder how that process was. I've never personally written a song about someone close to me dying that wasn't just mine. Yeah, those are some of my initial curiosities, as well as just your grief process too, and how different people grieve.
I'm having chills right now because we're having this conversation at a moment in time where grief is ever present, even as life is going on. So over the last 2 years, my kind of closest friend group has suffered a lot of loss. The person that was the subject of Little Prizes, her name was Kim Simon. Many of the people that I grew up with in Far Rockaway, New York, or elsewhere on Long Island, ended up moving to Los Angeles. So the people that I went to the Hebrew Institute of Long Island with and to summer camp with, all independently for different reasons ended up in LA. Yossi Simon was blessed to meet Kim many, many years ago. Yossi's one of my friend group, and there's lots of couple friends and there's lots of individual sets of relationships. And Yossi and I always had an independent relationship. Shari and Kim had an independent relationship, and Kim and I had an independent relationship. But we weren't so much couple friends except in a bigger group. And it's not a commentary on anything. It's just life evolves. Everybody's kids are different ages. But I felt very, very close to Kim. Her mission in life, I don't want to overstate it, but she ended up working at the Shoah Foundation for 20 some odd years. And her mission in life was to help prevent, maybe even cure hatred and racism and genocide, and to, in particular, tell the stories that go along with it for the purposes of educating, so that, when Rodney King said, why can't we all just get along, or something like that, I'm like, yeah, that really, really resonates. And on a kind of simplified version, that's what Kim's work was doing. And she was a deep and gorgeous thinker. We would spend hours. My work in the world, obviously, I'm a lawyer. That's how people pay me. But my community work has been about building community and getting people of different communities to engage with each other, to turn diversity into a positive, where we learn from each other. In fact, we were just at a wedding last night, and amidst this grief, life goes on. And the rabbi, Rav Moshe Lichtenstein, I hope I don't butcher this, but basically he said, there's a piece of Talmud that says, a Jewish person outside of Israel is worth X. A Jew who lives in Israel is worth 2X. But a person who moves from outside the U.S. to Israel is worth 10 times. And he articulated the rationale for that as being because you are bringing a multiplicity of cultures and therefore improving the community in that way. That's the impulse I've had for many, many years to do my community work. And Kim and I ended up spending a lot of time talking about that because it related to her work. They're building community in a very different way. They're more educators and resources, but it's a place where we really connected. We also connected on one time we were thinking of opening up a gourmet kosher food shop.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, so did we. I think she wanted to call it Global Delicacies because she was the person who would find excellent brie or olive oil or any good food. She would find it. That quality of excellence is something she brought to all relationships. And sadly, she had disease that lasted a long time, and you can't prepare for death, but you can prepare, and you prepare by spending more time with people who are ill. I mean, a lot of people shy away from it, but Shari and I are people who show up. We friend hard. We'll show up for you, but it's not just for you. It's for us too. It's a way of being with the people we love and being with their families and helping them through the process. So I'm now kind of segueing into the second question, which was about writing a personal grief song with someone else. I write with Liz during Fearless Songwriting Week. The rest of the time, I write on my own, or I have other people that I write with. And in Fearless Songwriting Week, the prompts take you where they take you. I mentioned before that this is a period of deep grief for me and my close circle of friends. Over the last 2 years, in May, Ivan Wolkind, another dear friend,
whom we did not have time to prepare for, died suddenly. In July, when Fearless Songwriting came around, like the way Liz and I work is sometimes I like last night I said, I'm not going to have time, take a stab at something. And as is often the case, once she writes, it's perfect. I don't need to make any changes. But in both this case, Little Prizes, and the song I wrote for Ivan, I did a stream of consciousness. I shared it with Liz. My stream of consciousness sometimes takes a prose format, sometimes takes a poetry format. This one, if I recall correctly, was more poetry than prose. Liz asked some questions, made some notes, probably rewrote pieces of it. In fact, I'm positive that Lumpy Chairs is Liz's. All of it smacks as her kind of refinement, but she's so careful to make sure that whatever she's doing is both consonant and consistent with my feelings and what I'm trying to do. So writing with her is really easy. I mean, we've only been writing together over Fearless for 2, maybe 3 years. And in that time, we've written probably 90 or so songs. I don't have a number. And just as she helped me process my losses, this week is also Fearless Songwriting Week. And she told me before this week started that her very good friend from, right after high school, she died suddenly. So when you collaborate with anyone, there's got to be a level of intimacy and trust. I can't do this type of collaboration with Shari, but she has no interest in this type of collaboration. I collaborate with her throughout the rest of my life. So the fact that I have someone like Liz to do this with, it's just, what a gift. Because she'll really push me. Like, what do you mean here? What are you getting at? It not only flows through head into heart and back, and it's a really great cycle for me, because I feel like this was a really hard one to write. It wasn't even grief. It was waiting for grief.
Yeah, the anticipation. There's so much anticipation in the song.
And of course, you're grieving throughout the 3 to 4 years that we were visiting with Kim and her family regularly. There's this pre-grief that's going on, but none of that makes it easier after they die.
Gosh, there's so much in there. First of all, yeah, this piece around there's so much grief. Always, to be alive is to grieve, whether we like it or not, I think, and we sometimes have different seasons of our life where there's, more people who die, or, things get concentrated more in certain periods. And it sounds like that's part of the case for you. Having a lot of folks die recently.
You're very young. How have you come to know grief so well?
Well, as you know, my dad died when I was a kid, when I was 15. So that's so woven into who I am, it just is part of the fabric of what shaped me. And I think especially at that age and you're just developing, still where I was.
Did you know it was coming, or was it sudden?
So where my brain was at the time, yes and no. I think my nervous system kind of was picking up on things, and I was starting to numb out and, associate and things like that to protect myself. My dad had cancer. He died of cancer. He died within the year that he was diagnosed. So it was really fast. And it's just a big vortex, it happened so fast. I think some combination of, my family was just in survival mode and trying to just roll with what was happening and put up a fight for against the cancer. And it's where is that line of, we're going to fight this and survive this. And oh wait, it's time to accept that the end is near.
But you barely have enough time to process all of that.
There was no processing. I think that was the thing. That's what the last 10 to 15 years of therapy has been. It's finally trying to process it. There's a reason why I'm just now songwriting, Shep. I have no shame about that. It took me a while. I'm still very much sorting out a lot of it,
I'm 60 and I'm still sorting it out.
Right? It's and I feel like that's one of the things I love about, or not love, but have come to respect and appreciate about grief is just, it's so humbling, It's I can think I have all of this emotional capacity to blah, and then like grief comes and I'm on the floor. It's humbling.
Well, I have a question about that.
Sure.
First, I want to ask this. What was your dad's name?
Patrick Avison.
Patrick Avison. Well, may his memory be a blessing.
Thank you.
Our tradition in the Jewish community, that's what we say, Yehi Zichro Baruch. May his memory be a blessing.
I appreciate that.
And that, I think, comes through telling stories about him and things you've learned from him. Anything come to mind there that you want to share?
Some of the things I loved and still appreciate about him. He was like an enigmatic person. So meaning like he worked in banking. And so he would go to work with suit and tie and, look very business. But then, he'd come home and he'd like, have his bolo tie and like sometimes wear a cowboy hat. I'm like, what? He rode jet skis and motorcycles, had a farmer's tan, like I love those things about him. And I think there's something about that. It gives permission to me to just sort of like be a person of multitudes,
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
which is such a gift, in this society where there's so many tightropes that we're asked to walk on and find ourselves. So yeah, I appreciate that. And he was a goofball and, like to have fun. And those are just a few things.
No, that's great. I'm glad you gave us a sense of your dad. Thank you. You say you find yourself on the floor with grief, and we're not going to talk about grief the whole time unless you want to.
Hey, I'm just going with the flow here, wherever we want to take it.
What do you do when you find yourself on the floor?
I mean, now I write songs.
But is that like you're on the floor and you say, let me write a song? Or does the song come to you? Or what?
I don't want to paint an accurate picture. There's a number of things that can happen at that point in my process. Sometimes it's eating a bag of dried mango. Sometimes it's petting my dog. Sometimes it's like scrolling mindlessly on things and numbing out. Sometimes it's songwriting, right? So it's not just like, and then I just pour it into a song and it's so romantic. And no, I can be a hot mess just like anyone else. But what happens, I mean, honestly, if I'm at the point where I'm on the floor actually feeling a feeling, that's like really good for me. I think it's the moments where I'm like blocked from it and falling into like weird coping mechanisms where I feel like that's when I'm more in trouble. So if I'm at the point where I'm like crying on the floor and in a feeling, I mean, usually I'll just cry it out for a bit. And then, my instruments are usually like a foot or two away for this reason. And so, oftentimes I'll pick it up. If something wants to be said, if I want to like say a thing to my dad, let's say, or like, lament to the universe about something, that's sometimes when I'll like pick up the guitar or now the piano. I'm teaching myself piano or I'm learning
good for you.
a couple of helpful lessons from a friend.
Is your instrument, your go-to instrument, the pen or keyboard, or is it the guitar? Like what comes first for you?
It kind of depends. I mean, right now, because I'm learning piano, I'm kind of going to that first just because it's a little bit more interesting. I'm like writing differently on it, which is neat.
Inevitably.
Yeah. So I think that is a bit more my go-to. Sometimes it's like, I just need to like say some shit, Yeah, if I have like something I feel like I need to say or like a powerful phrase that like evokes something, then I'll be like, oh, that's a lyric. Or sometimes it's just like, I just need to like dump this out. When I'm in that like creative, emotional vortex versus like, I'm going to attempt to write a song because I'm doing a songwriting challenge, when I'm in the vortex, it's like, it's like hard to even recall what happens. Sometimes I couldn't even tell you. I'm just like, I had an instrument and things came out and I don't know what happened. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. This is a recent topic of thought and conversation for me. I think one of the song school session titles was, Where Do Songs Come From? And the answer is everywhere, right? So I'm walking down the street, a melody comes to me. Sometimes just a melody, sometimes just phonemes, sometimes whole words, and sometimes there's no melody, but it's a series of words with a rhythm. So out comes the iPhone and I record it. And I would say I get back to, now that since I do have a full-time job and a variety of other responsibilities, I get back to about 15, 20% of those. And, when I retire, I have another 80%. If I never have another idea, these ideas will keep me busy for the rest of my life. But I also don't think that's how it works. I think when you're regularly creating, more creation comes to you. I used to think, oh my God, if I do this, I won't be able to write another song.
Mm.
And the answer is you just have to let it come, not worry about things like perfection, repetition. So you use the same chords over and over again. There are palliatives to that too. You can say, okay, I'm not going to do CFG this time. I'm going to start on the 2 and see where it goes from there. But I want to start on A minor, but I really want to land on G. How do I get there? You look at your notes from a Bonnie Hayes class who says, well, try this pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you learn. I just signed up for the Shanna Swifty Songwriting Challenge. There are a million places where you A, get sources, B, learn new techniques. And you don't have to, for me anyway, I don't have to say, I'm going to do this, but there's like a natural curiosity. You learn a new technique. I'm like, well, how do I replicate that? Actually replicate it? And then how do I sheplicate it? So for each of those, the act of trying to create something with a new tool inevitably creates inspiration. It may be god awful.
Uh-huh. But it's new.
Exactly. And so you just keep doing that. And my creative process is whatever it is. It changes from time to time. But what I've learned is I used to be, and I'm a very self-judgy. And so I used to think of myself as like a thinker-songwriter, like I would think my songs into existence. But I've learned that, in fact, when I break down my process, the thinking happens afterwards. It's like I blurt, I put it out there, and then I reshape the lyrics. That's where the thinking is. Why do I like this? Do I want it to be an iambic pentameter? Do I want 8 beats per line? Do I want to have an internal rhyme or an external rhyme? Oh my God, the mood of this reminds me of this Bob Dylan or Ingrid song. I want to copy that because it's the same thing and that's my nods to them. That's where the brain comes in. But then you have to bring the heart back to make sure that it still feels good.
Totally. Yeah. The emotional, soul, creative tether part is so different than the editor for me too. I think I've heard that from most songwriters, but yeah, I remember the first year after song school when I just started writing songs and I didn't understand how creativity works. I still don't, but I know what it's not. I remember just thinking oh, well, that's it. I wrote all the songs because they're all right. That's a finite resource and I just squeezed the lemon and I'm just dried up now. But it's wow, that's not true. But yeah, just these logical fallacies that get in the way, or the perfectionism, or the editor part that comes in too soon. I'm curious if you want to share, when you wrote this song, what are you calling it again? It's
Little Prizes.
When you started writing Little Prizes, what was your process like to come to that? Were you just deep in grief, or what was happening?
So this took place January 23rd on day 6 of the Fearless Songwriting Challenge. And here's the actual Fearless Songwriting prompt. What happens is the night before, Timmy or whoever is running the particular round of Fearless Songwriting posts this at midnight their time. Timmy lives in Boston. That means it's 9:00 my time. So often what happens is I go ahead and just do a stream of consciousness. So this is what I just sent to you was the first version of this. And, if you looked at it carefully, not that I think you should, you'll see that some of the stuff that I wrote made its way into the song. But through 2 or 3 revisions, we ended up with something very different. I'll read this for our guests. I want a cabinet full of smiley faces in hopes they ease your pain. So I'm writing this to Kim. I know that goes against your grain. You sit there by the window pane and avoid all of your family's embraces. Not exactly true. Or maybe I was thinking about the people around her. We've been waiting in the hallway with the doctors. They keep raising issues. What they keep saying, I refuse. I'm still hoping for better news. It feels to me like they're a bunch of mobsters. So, like, it's super clunky, but it's getting my point across. We're all waiting for you, waiting to say goodbye, waiting for you to get better, waiting for you, waiting.
I appreciated that, how that made it into the song, that like waiting process.
Yeah. Well, and Liz correctly identified that was the primary theme, which is how it became like the first line. We're waiting for you to get up from your bed and do all those things you always do.
Yeah, I really appreciated that first line.
And that's the thing. Whenever, we're focusing on grief right now. But again, I was at this wedding last night. For the last several weeks, everyone around the wedding has been waiting for the groom and bride to walk down the aisle. It's a different type of anticipation. It's one we look forward to. It's one that creates longing and love and connection. But it's the twin side of the process. It's the other side of the coin to grief. And that's why I think we feel it so palpably. And ultimately, one of the things that I've been meaning to ask throughout this conversation, but we keep digressing, which is the nature of true friendship and conversation, is you're processing your emotions through song, and processing emotions is directly related to what you do every day for other people. I don't know exactly what kind of therapy, but you are a therapy practitioner of some sort.
I'm a grief and trauma therapist, and
so we're a little bit on the nose here.
We're just like a little bit on the nose. Yeah, I have a private practice, and I split my time between being a therapist and being a performing musician. So Amy's class that we talked about earlier, that was actually a really important moment for me to drop into performance in a different way. I just hadn't tapped into before. And there were all these things that kind of clicked for me in her class. And a lot of what clicked were all these parallels that I was already doing as a therapist. And they're obviously very different roles, but there are these like similarities. So like, for example, with her class, like it showed me the power of performance. In her class, she has you like, sing the song and then sing it after she helps you drop in on another level. And for me, that process was so transformational. When I first sang the song, I just wanted people to like it. I just wanted it to sound good. I just wanted people to like it. I wanted people to like me, like classic kind of insecurities as a performer. And then, she like asked these series of questions, help, like, who are you singing to? Why? What are you trying to tell them? What are you trying to give them? What are you trying to get from them? And it just completely wipes away the, like, I'm not in the same part of my brain anymore that's worried about somebody liking me. I'm just on another level. I'm in the heart and the soul of the song and what it's really about. And to me, that was such a transformational and beautiful process. And I remember both the like feeling in my body and soul, and then like the connection to the people I was actually singing this song in front of dropped into like this whole nother plane, and it was so palpable. And that's just such a beautiful thing for me, that is like healing something deeply in me, that's doing more justice to the song. I think it's offering, it's more of service. And there's like more of this like exchange and connective experience versus just like, and I want to sing this song so that people think it sounds good. And that's a part that I work with, and like still tend to, but that's why I try to do 80s stuff, is to, really come back to like the more soulful space,
Yeah, for sure. And it's an amazing methodology. I mean, at this point, I've taken a whole bunch of classes with Amy, a whole bunch of classes with Ellis and Terry, a whole bunch of classes with Vance, a whole bunch of classes with Rebecca. There's overlap in all of them.
Yeah.
But they all have different methodologies for trying to address the same thing. Amy's works really, really well. I find myself using each of them in different moments. But what I was going to say about the transformation that occurred with you in Amy's class was palpable was exactly the right word. I can't say that everybody experienced this, but I certainly know the people around me. You could feel them tensing up in all the right moments and their bodies releasing in all the right moments. You could feel like the kinetic energy between us in grieving with you and processing that grief with you. And in that way, you may kind of divide your two professional personalities into trauma or grief therapist and singer-songwriter, but sometimes your singer-songwriter is also a trauma and grief therapist, whether you're processing stuff for yourself or we're listening to the words or listening to your emotion and getting it, and it's touching us too because we all connect to that.
Right, right. I think that's really well said. And I think that's a piece that sparked, I was like, I get it now. The way I talk about it, I'm like, I feel like I've seen the other side and I can't go back. I need to be a performer. Like, I feel so like called to that. You said like we all like know these like certain feelings, right? And it's like to create the kind of container like through a song where people and a performance where people can really like step into it, the world that you're creating through that song and through that performance. I need to be connected to my own humanity and the parts of my humanity that are like in the song. As a grief and trauma therapist, it's like when I create the container of a session and the relationship to hold people's stuff to hopefully have healing experiences and to experience their own grief or, processing their trauma at the pace that's right for them. I can't be a robot. I can't be worried about, I hope this person likes me right now. Or if I'm doing that, I'm not being very effective, likely.
By the way, that's also identical to the moment where, as a singer-songwriter, like if you're too in your head, you're not going to be able to get people to experience what you want them to experience. It's the same concept there.
Right. Well, it's such a paradox. It's like to get the thing, for me anyway, like to get the thing that I want, which is this like connective, soulful, healing exchange. I can't want it too hard. It's a different access point. I reach that through a different non-linear way. Oh, I have to actually just have Shep right in front of me and pretend he's my dead father and sing the song to him. It's fine.
But it helped. And now your body and your brain, your soul, to the extent you believe in that, have a touch point to say, okay, that's the emotion, that's the process. Okay, Shep's not actually in front of me right now, but this song is about my cousin Jane. I'm going to envision Jane. You have the neural pathways to make that work.
Totally. Exactly. Yeah. It's like a worn path. Right.
Do you find that your work as a grief and trauma therapist, that your songwriting responds to it, comes out of it, or is a cleanser from it, or both?
All of the above. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, like you spoke to this already, it's, like where do songs come from, right? It's like, I'm definitely a believer that they're influenced by me and my life experiences, but they're definitely not all me. It's a process of channeling and then, yeah, we refine it later and we edit and we have a different part of our brain and all that. But I'm a product of my environment, everything that I come in contact with and forces of nature I can't see or understand. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely impacted by my clients and I want to be. I think that the day that I stop letting myself be impacted by people, the day I should probably stop being a therapist. Again, it's like this like this human exchange that needs to be there. So I definitely like sometimes I, use songs to help me hold what I'm holding for others. I learn so much from my clients. I learn so much from them. And so many times, like, they'll be processing something that I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm working on that too. I don't necessarily always say that in the moment. I'm a big proponent that like therapists, we should let ourselves be human and remind people that we have the answers to everything. I get a lot of people understandably looking for answers, but, not to have the humility of those things. But
but there's a balance to it. Like you have to both be on a pedestal and not be on a pedestal, because people want to relate to you as a human, but they also need to remember that you're a professional and professionals have some of the answers. And, like I like to use this language. When I'm going to professional, they're my rabbi on whatever the thing is. Accounting, plumbing, grief therapy. You talk it through with them, you challenge them, but productively, healthfully. And, typically I find that a good process like that is going to get the best result for you. And then you move on and you grow and you build and you come back to your professional for whatever it is when you need them. I love that you're kind of honoring that. It reminds me of I don't know if you looked at the whole source sheet, but there's a great quote in there from Rabbi Sachs. He was like one of the greats of the last century. He was the chief rabbi of the Orthodox community in the UK, and he's beloved by most of the Jewish community and even by people who aren't Jewish. But he says here, all you need to do is to write your chapter in the story, do deeds that heal some of the pain of this world, and act so that others become a little better for having known you. Live so that through you our ancient covenant with God is renewed in the only way that matters, in life. Putting aside the covenant piece, another rabbi of mine, Rabbi Yitz Greenberg or Irving Greenberg, says that he tried to condense the whole of the Torah, the Bible, into one word, and he could not. The best he could do was condense it to two words: choose life. As a songwriter, you're choosing life. Whether it's brief stuff that you're exploring or comedy, which I want to come to in a minute, and we'll probably wrap up after that. As a therapist, you are helping people choose life, and in so doing, you're choosing life yourself. So that's really, really powerful.
I agree. That's so beautifully put. Well, and I think that ties in so much with grief. To me, it's just interesting. I don't know, with the paradox or irony or whatever the hell it is. I'll just speak from my own experience, and what I've seen from a lot of people too. But for me, the more that I really step into grief and particularly related to dying and people dying, my own death, the more that I'm so much more present in life and in each moment. It's like, oh, every moment is so precious because we don't know, no one knows how much time we have. When I'm fighting that and resisting that, and I have all these weird unconscious defenses, trying to fit in too much into my day, and then I'm actually missing out on being present, but the more I actually accept and release control, or the idea of control, 'cause I don't actually have any. I think that's one of the beautiful alchemies of grief is it's just oh my God, yeah, it actually helps us to live more when we are with it. We can be with it. For me, I should say.
I love that language, the alchemies of grief. It acknowledges that it's what in our family we call scientifical. Not really scientific, but scientifical. And there's a whole story behind that. You can name things, you can categorize things, but at the end of the day, it's still an unknown to it, a magic to it. Speaking of alchemy, so most of the songs I've heard of yours are what I would describe as earnest, plaintive.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this.
You do. I love those. They're beautiful. They're inspiring. They're moving.
Thank you.
Some of them do explore grief. But at the open mic night at Song School this year, you played something else.
I did.
And it exposed all of us to a side of you that I've seen in moments of play in conversation, but had never seen as a songwriter. If you've recorded the song, you can send me the recording. If not, I'll just grab a snippet from the video I took at your performance. How does that come into play? And I'm using the word very intentionally there.
Yeah. How does silliness come to play in my songs?
It's not just silliness. I would describe that song as a song first, but it's a comedic song. It's downright funny.
Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it.
I must be ovulating, not thinking straight. After all, this is only our second date. Guess this is being flirty at 35. Even though I doubt you could even keep a baby alive. Hey! I don't know if I want kids, but right now I want you to get me pregnant. Thank God I've got an IUD.
Yeah, that's a newer one for me. I wrote that in this late spring, I think. That was definitely a channeling moment where I was just like, I don't know what's happening, but this is hilarious to me. And I had no intention of sharing it with anybody or playing it. I was like, nope, this is ridiculous. No one wants to hear. I don't even,
Right. But I think that's why we relate to it so much. Not that I've ever had an IUD, but the concepts behind it. I did date a woman many, many years ago who said, I want to get pregnant by you. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. Let's talk about this another time. Tara, my cab to the airport is leaving.
Panic, paint, cut to airport.
But today, all these years later, I understand where she was. She was feeling affection and connection. And I was like, okay, I couldn't handle it in the moment and therefore thought it was funny, which is perhaps one of the reasons why I connected to this one so much. What I'm curious about is when you sat down to write that, you said you channeled it, but were you in a mirthy mood or were you doing some object writing and this is what came out of it? Or do you remember how it evolved?
I'm gonna bring myself back to the moment. I think it was a confluence of things. I think I was feeling playful. I went home alone. This was not I was not in a moment of dating somebody. I was alone in my cabin with my dog sitting on the floor. But I was in a playful mood. I had just gotten back from a friend's dinner. I was just feeling socially engaged and playful. And I actually had been listening to a lot of Chappell Roan. Do you know Chappell Roan?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, she's amazing. You know the song Casual?
I know her music a little bit. I couldn't name songs.
You should just listen to it, Shep. Well, I'll just put it that way. And there's her. There's also Sabrina Carpenter, who's super hot right now, making the top of the pop charts. Whatever. I've been listening to some really fun pop music by these women who were just being really bold and explicit about sex in their songs or joking, making sexual innuendo jokes on stage. Sabrina Carpenter's known for doing that. Just super cheeky and just yeah, I'm going to do this on a stage with thousands of people. And yeah, I'm going to write a song that you should just listen to Casual. I think that was part of what was in my, my sphere at that moment. I was feeling playful. And honestly, what I go down these rabbit hole thought places in my brain. And my friend literally, so random, but you asked, my friend had literally sent me this long voice memo. We voice memo back and forth all the time. She's my best friend. And she's like, oh my God, Ingrid, today I cracked an egg and it had a double yolk. I think that's good luck. It's got to mean something cool and witchy. What do you think? And I messaged her back. I was like, yeah, totally good luck. Hopefully not fertility good luck, but I don't know. It just went into this weird thing. And I just thought it was really, it got me thinking of we're both in our mid 30s and it just got me thinking about man, it's so different to date in my mid 30s compared to when I was 20. If somebody couldn't just make me laugh when I was 20, I'd be in the palm of their hand. But now it's oh, you'd make a good father? Oh. And so it just all of these things. And then I just was well, that's a funny idea.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that even though we started in a conversation of grief, we tracked the order of the Passover Seder, which is Maschilin Bignai. You start with the Yuck, my Umisaimin B'Shevach, and you end with the so we got to talk about Kim, we got to talk about Ivan, and you got to honor your dad's memory. Patrick, am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
We got to honor Judith and all the other people we love. And, we will always experience grief, but may your grief be outweighed by your joy. You're awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Shep. I so appreciate it. And yeah, this is such a treat. I actually brought, to kind of ground me and get some good energy, I brought a picture of my dad to have here.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
a rock from Utah, which is a really griefy spot for me and holds a lot. But I also love what you're saying too, like I call it the tears to laughter pipeline. You laugh until you cry, and you cry until you laugh. So yeah, thank you for inviting me on to the Tears to Laughter pipeline. And
that's beautiful. I'm going to borrow that.
For sharing your grief and your laughter, and I just so appreciate you.
Right back at you, Ingrid.
Thanks so much for listening. Special thanks to Ingrid for joining me, to Liz Hanellin for co-writing the song with me, to Sean Kawanami for his evocative piano playing, to David Coyle for his help in producing this episode, to E. Rose for his help producing this song and the episode, and to Jessica Hannah Sweedler for her help on social media. You can find Little Prizes and all of the other songs in this song cycle on most platforms that stream or download music, including Spotify and Apple. In the next episode of The Rest is Commentary, I will be talking with my longtime friends, Rabbi Rachel Kobrin, spiritual leader of Congregation Rodef Shalom in Denver, Colorado, and author, rocket scientist, and so much more, Jeff Ward, whose new book, Shabbat on Mars, comes out October 16th, 2025. We discuss the song Jocko's Boxing Day, which I co-wrote with Liz Hanellin and was inspired by Psalm 71. We discuss the importance of everyone being a stakeholder in building community, how dynamic prayer spaces inspire deep connections, the importance of understanding tradition, the essentiality of compassion in times of crisis, the crucial role of mentorship in personal growth, the boxing ring as a metaphor for life's challenges, gender perspectives as they impact faith, gratitude as a core value in Jewish practice, and so much more. Please join us.